trap with drugs is it's not other people keeping it. You keep it, and you keep yourself in it yourself by your own greed.
How did you go from the army to becoming a drug kingpin?
As I started seeing the world was changing, when I went to army in '88, the rave scene was really just bubbling up at that stage. I was given a pill.
Yeah.
That changed my life completely. And I think I got sucked into it. One of the guys would go sort the pills out. So I was then going from doing 1,000 pills up to maybe 4,000 or 5,000 pills a week. So I then started to look at expanding the business. At the time, there was an arrest went off, which meant I lost 4 kilos of cocaine, which was
equivalent
on tick, 80 grand.
And that was on tick?
That was on tick, yeah. And he said, oh, we've got a way you can bring it, you can pay it off. And I said, what's that? Do you want to start bringing it over? I don't like working with these people.
Yeah.
These are erratic, these people are dangerous.
Was there ever a time when you totally had the fear about something?
Yeah, but I can't go into it.
Rich, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, Dodge. How's it going?
Yeah, really good, really good. Very much looking forward to this one. So I'm very intrigued about this one. So let's go on a journey. But let's roll all the way back. Where did you grow up and how did you go from the army to becoming a drug kingpin?
Yeah, so I grew up in Bristol, as you can tell by the accent.
Lovely accent.
Gert Lash, innit? Gert Lash.
Babber.
My babber. Bling bling, my babber. I grew up in a place called Henbury, which is standard council estate. The irony is I grew up in a police house. My dad was in the police force, so I was born into a structured lifestyle, if you like. My dad served in the police, mum was a hairdresser, and I got a younger brother, not much younger, but a little bit younger than me, about 18 months, maybe 2 years younger. I would say standard upbringing. Till about 14 when my parents split. Dad in the police force, very difficult lifestyle, lots of problems being brought home again. He also played rugby, so if he wasn't coming home pissed up from rugby, he'd be coming pissed up from the police force. Back in the 70s, mine 80s, it was a brutal upbringing. Not for me, but the lifestyle that he had. So my parents divorced it when I was 14. And I'm not going to start pointing fingers because there's no one to blame for that. It's just the way that it goes. But that had a kind of detrimental effect on my progression, if you like. My academic direction didn't really stand a chance because I just wasn't interested. Lost full interest in the school, lost interest in what I was doing.
When you say lost interest, were you at school not giving a shit really, or were you not learning? Was sport your way out? Was you earning a pound?
I don't think either. Do you know what?
Okay.
I don't think there was anything which appealed to me in school. There wasn't any subject matter which I thought, I like that. Yeah. That sounds good.
Okay.
I'll go for that. No, there was nothing there. And back in the 80s, very limited on what you could do.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a guy, you're going to go and work on a site. If you're a girl, you're going to work in a kitchen or be a mum.
Yeah.
That was how it was. So for me, I just was not interested in anything they had to offer. So really, for me, I guess being wired up like my dad, I thought, well, there's got to be something like that. Maybe the police, maybe something on those lines. And that's kind of in the back of my mind, I thought, well, that's maybe where I'll go. Aim for the police force. But my dad did his best to sort of say, I don't want you joining the police because look what it's done to me. Look at my life. Look at where it's gone with me. I've got I've got a failed marriage. The police force probably isn't a good idea. So at the time, really, it was, well, what else is there? And I guess coming forward 2 or 3 years, I've been becoming quite problematic in my upbringing. I wasn't a horrible kid, but I was just a standard teenager, sort of testing the waters, testing the ways, seeing, well, what am I going to do in my life? Random crappy jobs, nothing special, nothing of any substance. And in the end, I think the force is the way forward. I had a new stepmom, wasn't getting on with her. Again, not her fault. I was becoming a little shit. So how's a 17-year-old kid with no real chance going to get on with anyone coming into his life? So I opted to go for the army at the age of back in the 17, and I applied for the tank regiment. And I think following year, May 1988, I joined basic training.
Okay. And basic training took you where? Did you go on tour?
Yeah, so basic training started off in Catterick in North Yorkshire, which it was an interesting experience. I wasn't prepared. I thought that's what basic training was for. I thought that's it. They get you trained, but I didn't realise you had to do some level of fitness to be in there. So it was a culture shock. I mean, again, back in the 80s, this was really non-PC. Yeah. It was okay to give you a good slap and a good punch and a few digs. It's okay to give you non-PC nicknames, which I can't even go into because it'll probably get you shut down within a few days. So it was hard going, but it did give you a degree of resilience.
Give me some examples of non-PC names.
Well, my nickname, when I did have hair, I had lots of dark hair. So my nickname was Spick or Dago. And I'll just take it, well, okay, that's fine, I'll go with that. And that's a light-hearted one.
Yeah.
So that rode with me through my whole army career.
Yeah.
I'm still called that now by the guys that I've on Facebook groups with. Right, Spick, how you doing? Oh, I've been called that for years.
30 years later.
Can't say that anymore. I haven't got any hair. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
So it was things like the nicknames you'd be called in.
Did you find that it gave you discipline being in the army?
Yeah, it gave me something I didn't have.
Yeah.
It gave me structure, which I needed, because without that structure, I was off.
Yeah.
It's like it reins you in a little bit, and they use the phrase controlled aggression. So if you have got issues with anger, which I don't have issues with anger, but if you are inclined to be an angry person, it teaches you to control that, how to channel it and use it productively. So the army is very good at taking all of your wasted energy that you would use on silliness and channeling it into something productive, and then you apply it correctly. And that's what the army does. They're very good at doing that.
How long were you in the army for in total?
7.5 years.
7.5. And tell me your journey from the moment you got in to 7.5 years later.
So joining the army was a bumpy ride. The first year or so is always going to be quite tricky. Basic training is hard enough as it is. And they keep saying to you, wait till you get to your unit. That's when it really starts. And you think, well, why is this? And at the time in the 80s, Cold War was going, British Army on the run, you had the Warsaw Pact, the USSR, the Russians are coming, all that sort of stuff.
What year are we talking here?
88.
88, okay.
September 88 is when I went. So I was deployed to Germany in 88 after doing my basic training, trade training to become a tank gunner.
Yeah.
Deployed out to my unit in Germany, 3 RTR, 3rd Royal Tank Regiment.
Why been sent out to Germany? What was going on there?
That's where we were. That's where we had the old East and West Germany. So you'd have the imminent threat. Like now, look at this thing in Ukraine. People are shitting themselves about the nukes coming. We had that back in the 80s all the time.
Right, okay.
We got used to it. That's why I'm not remotely bothered by now. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, back then, we lived with it. That's what everyone who grew up in that
So
era
what were you
did.
doing in Germany then?
Getting pissed.
Yeah, okay.
Mostly,
Getting pissed.
mostly getting pissed. It was 90% drinking, 10% training.
Okay.
So, and that's what it was, because you're literally on standby. You're waiting for this attack, this World War III, which never happened.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is training, a lot of it is drinking, and it is a drinking culture.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example of the prices. I mean, going back to, say, back 30.
Yeah.
Walking to Nafi Bar for the first time, this one before the Euro came out, it's Deutschmarks.
Yeah.
Nafi Bar, I love a beer. You go in there, you get your money out ready. So much? Oh, it's 1 Deutschmark, 30p.
Yeah. Okay.
30 pence for a pint.
And was that relative though then, or were you like, God, this is still
that
really
was
cheap? It
That
was
cheap.
okay.
But back then in Civvy Street, you'd be paying maybe
£1.50.
about £1.50,
Yeah,
a pound maybe for a drink.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're still looking at being like 20%, 30%.
So you were training
price.
in the days, getting larruped at night with the boys. Was it just a male orientated
Yes, very
piss
stag.
take, violence, fights,
So
sport?
garrison area. So if I describe the average day or the average week,
Yeah.
so you do actually have a working week, Monday to Friday lunchtime. So it's Poets' Day, standard stuff, piss off early tomorrow. So that's the practice that we have. So you go through your parade in the morning, you turn up, you get inspected, loosely because we're tankers, we're a bag of shit, we're messy, we're covered in grease and diesel, so we can't shine that much.
Yeah.
Down to the tank park where the tanks are parked. You would then go in the called a troop cage, sit with the lads, have a brew, chill out, be given a few tasks, maybe do some fitness, maybe do some maintenance on the tanks, service of sites, service of weapons. You might go on the ranges now and again. You might go and practice in the gas chamber, doing CS gas. You'd have these sort of various bits.
Hold on. You might go what? Go on the gas chamber?
Yeah. We
What's
get
that?
gassed regularly. So
The gas chamber.
Part of the training back in the 80s and still is now is NBC, nuclear, biological and chemical warfare. So you would train for this imminent maybe attack from the Russians, and then part of that attack could come in the form of biological or chemical. So you get used to wearing respirators, gas masks, all your suits.
Oh, wow.
So every single base would have a gas chamber. It'd be like a shed or a garage. You go in there, you got all your kit on, they light up a couple of little capsules, which are CS gas, and you wait till the room is full of this acrid smoke, and you take your respirator off and see how you get on with it. And that's about it.
Proper old school, isn't it?
Yeah, take your respirator
off you go, boys.
Name, rank, and number, and then wait until you breathe it in, till
Yeah.
you cough up, and you get used to CS gas. It stings, it burns, it does everything else. So that would be something you do maybe once a year, once every 6 months.
And how long were you in Germany for?
The whole duration. So for the 7.5 years, it was Germany. I mean, because we were mechanised, because we were a tank regiment, we couldn't just bounce around because a lot of kit to move. So we did Northern Ireland as dismounted troops, so infantry, in 1990 went to Armagh, which is Armagh, sounding a Bristol accent.
Doesn't it?
Armagh. Armagh. So we go to there. We did 6 months in the bandit country, which I really enjoyed, because we're actually doing a job.
So you got flown out from Germany to Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
What was that feeling being in Northern Ireland? I've had people on the podcast who spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland, and it was like the British soldiers were hated.
Yeah. It's broken into the Protestant and Catholic areas.
Yeah.
So you'd be patrolling. We were in a little tiny village called Middletown on the border between Monaghan, so that was between the south and the north. And I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but that's how we branded it at the time. North and south. Some people say, well, it's one island.
Yeah.
That's down to their political views. We were in the north on the border, and you would have, a predominantly maybe Catholic area where you walk into that as a British soldier. You're going to get stones thrown at you. You're going to get spat at. You're going to get potential riots. You're hated. You're targeted. That's accepted because you're doing a job in a hostile environment. You go into a Protestant area, they love you. And you'd literally have a map marked, right, we're going from this street to that street. This is going to, I'm like that, so imagine I've got my guns walking down this street here. This is Protestant, we're okay.
Yeah.
Walk into a Catholic area, got murals on the walls of like the IRA and everything, right, it's fucking tense right now. So you start tensing up a little bit and you start scanning your arc. So literally within 100 metres, you could be from a friendly into a hostile area. Simple as that.
How do you deal with something like that? You're walking down the street, you've got a machine gun on you, you're with your pals, you're a tight bunch, and people are throwing stones or spitting at you. How do you react to something like that?
You have to this is where resilience comes in. You can't really respond. I mean, if someone's chucking rocks at you, you have to take some sort of form of cover.
Yeah.
But if people are giving you verbal, which is regular, they're giving you this shit.
Example?
You fucking Brit bastard.
Yeah.
That's what we used to get all the time.
Yeah.
You fucking Brit bastard. Fuck off back to your own country.
Right, okay.
Fair enough. It's just
From
words.
kids, wives, families, anyone?
You name it, everyone.
Was it?
You
Okay.
name it. Yeah, everything. You get the threats, you get the violence. You just look at it and you think, oh, it's just noise. It is just noise. Until it's anything more than noise, you treat it as noise. And that's what it is. You just keep on walking. We were kitted up. I mean, don't go on, we've got flat jackets on, we've got cop vests, bulletproof vests, we're armed to the teeth. If it kicks off, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But you can't go around shooting civilians. It's not really good for PR, is it?
So if someone did get shot as a civilian, was there ever a time when a civilian did get shot? Because I'd imagine the whole country would have erupted.
Yeah, no, it would never engage. We've got rules of engagement.
Yeah, okay.
Literally, we've got a card which we've got to recite. So if someone's a potential threat, we've got to memorise this process, which I don't remember what it is now.
Okay.
It'd be something like stop or I'll shoot.
Yeah.
Stop or I'll shoot. You give them a warning.
Yeah.
If they're running away, you can't shoot them in the back. If they're putting a weapon at you, you challenge them, and if they don't drop it down, you take them out.
Right, okay.
You've got to shoot to kill, not shoot to maim. You can't put one in the leg as a warning shot. You've got to take them out.
Right, okay.
We didn't have to do that, which is fortunate.
And then what, back to Germany?
Back to Germany, so 1991, back to Germany in January. So we did the summer through 1990, early 91. Now, what happened at the back end of 1990 was the first Gulf War over in Iraq with the old Scud missiles, the liberation of Kuwait. So we found at the time when we were watching this on TV, we were in Armagh City at the time, watching it on TV, we think, this is it. This is going to be us. We're going to go to war now. So we're sat there chomping at a bit. Oh, I can't wait. This is cool. We're going to go to do. We've done Ireland on foot as infantry.
Yeah.
Not per it'll do.
Yeah.
Our tanks have been shipped out to Iraq, to the Gulf, ready for us. But we're going to get back to Germany in January. 2 weeks leave, just a bit of decompression. He's been on operational tour. So despite what's going on in the world, we're still entitled to a little bit of leave. 2 weeks leave, back to Germany. Right. Get down to Bovington, fly back to Bovington and Lulworth to retrain on the tanks. We had a year off without even pulling the trigger on the main armament on the tank. So back to Lulworth, refresh yourself, get your competency back on the wagon again, and then back over to Germany to be shipped out to the Gulf. Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to finally do a job which we were trained to do. I get in my tank and blow the lid off some other tanks. Yeah. That's what we wanted to do. So we got into the literally like just peel the top off open like a can opener. So we got back to Germany to be told that we weren't needed. It was all over. It's done. The air raid was successful. It's all been Kuwait has been liberated. Yeah. You're not needed. We were fucking devastated because the one thing when I joined the forces to go in a tank regiment is you would never expect the chance to actually go and use your skills as a tank gunner in a real theatre of war. And it might sound a bit, why would you want that? But you don't join up for that. But when an opportunity comes up and presents itself, you grab it. Yeah. you think, this is it, I'm going to get out there.
So did you find that the whole time you were in there, the whole Germany thing, you did 7.5 years, you were dying to go out to war, it didn't happen. How many years was it in when you were like, you know what, I've done my time, I need to find something else, I need to do something else? When was that?
So it started to come about around about 94. So when the...
What year was that for you? Year 6?
That was year 6,
Okay.
yeah. So what happened is in 89, the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah.
The old East-West dissolved. It became unified. So the threat of what used to be the Warsaw Pact, it diminished, it reduced. So therefore, if there was no longer a threat, part of the agreement was that we would reduce the size of NATO armed forces over in Germany, which we did, which meant disbanding regiments, getting rid, no longer needed, and amalgamating what was left. So we went from 4 tank regiments, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, down to 2. So that's one thing. So park that for a minute. So we've now got a new regiment in 92. That's fine. Operational duties in Ireland. Great, loved it. Missed out on the Gulf. Shit, that was a bummer. 3 come up. We're going to get a tour with the UN. Because I was thinking of getting out and they said, we're going to go to the UN next year. Do you fancy it? I thought, I'm up for that. Cyprus, 6 months on the piss. That's going to be great. So not just 7 years on the piss in Germany, but 6 months in Cyprus, even better.
It sounds like a proper lads.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Iron Appa and Limassol for 6 months. I got some stories about that, which I'll go into. So we deployed to Cyprus in November 93.
Yeah.
Thereabouts. Bit of a stickler with dates, you'll get used to this.
Yeah.
So we got to Cyprus, and it was like desert combats, the same ones that we should have been wearing in the Gulf, the old light colours as opposed to temperate, which is a lot of green and browns and blacks. This was temperate, lightweight. It was hot. We were in Nicosia Airport, which is the old abandoned airport in Nicosia. So we were patrolling. Our job was to patrol the buffer zone. That's on there, okay. Patrol the buffer zone between the Turkish Cypriots and the Greek Cypriots.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like being a fucking dinner lady in a playground saying, guys, stop throwing stones at each other, stop arguing, stop fighting. It's achieving nothing. But the rota that we had was 3 days on guard duty, which was basically standing on the gate, letting people in and out. 3 days on patrol, which is 3 days patrol up and down with the roof down on a soft top Pajero or Shogun. Then 3 days on the lash. So it was a good 6 months.
Yeah.
It was a really good 6 months. Now, at the time, I had lots of dark hair. Yeah. And it was growing quite long. I was growing it out. I was growing it long. I don't know why. I just did. And when I was in Limassol, we got so used to going to the same bars that squatters are known for telling a few little porky pies now and again, just a little bit of bullshit, just to entertain ourselves, usually to see if we can get laid, but more so to see if we can get free beer, or both. If it's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was on my 3-day leave, and I was down on my own because the lads are just, some of the guys I was on in the team with were married. They wouldn't really want to go down. We had troop flats in Limassol, which meant it was free accommodation. We just rock up, turn up, and have 3 days on the piss. So I was sat in this bar in Limassol, which is Scottish, and I was getting on really well with one of the guys that worked there. It's called Paris. He's a local Greek, and I just thought
called Paris as a local Greek.
Yeah, it's actually funny. It was Pariskova.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But yeah, sure, it was Paris. Yeah, I know. How's that work? So I was telling them, just chatting away, and for some reason I just thought, I'm going to start lying. I'm going to start bullshitting. I just want I'm running out of money. I need some free drinks. Yeah. And they said about me, my background and being in the forces, and they said, oh, what's your background? So I was born in Cyprus. He said, oh, really? And I said, yeah, back in the 70s. I said, my dad was based over as a British soldier in the UMPA, which is not the UMPA, in the sovereign barracks. And she's over here. And then when the war broke out, and because the Turkish invaded Cyprus in the mid-70s, I was born in 69. I said, I was a young child at the time. I said, my dad was married to a local Cypriot woman in Famagusta, which is a whole city which has been abandoned because it's full of mines, and it was part of historically Famagusta is a massive city in Cyprus which no one goes in because it's too dangerous to go into. It's part of the buffer zone. I said, yeah, we lived in Famagusta, and then the war came off, and I forget this right. I said, my mum and dad had to split because my dad had to leave the country quickly, and he took me with him, and I've never seen my mum since, and she's from Cyprus. And I'm spinning this yarn and thinking, I don't know what I'm going to achieve by this. Next thing you know, the drinks are coming. They're first, oh, that's so sad. And he got Paris over, and I'm chatting to Paris. I said, you're half Cypriot? I said, yeah, half Cypriot. I don't know anything about it. I don't know my mum's name or anything. And I think, what have I done? Next thing you know, he's invited me to stay at his house with his family. Yeah. And they're giving me food and breakfast and everything else. And I started feeling really guilty because I was getting free drinks in this bar. Yeah. I was promoting the bar outside, doing the old flyers. Yeah, come on, buy one, get one free. Yeah. So I was doing this for like every night I was down there, and I think starting to feel a little bit guilty. And they knew I was with the UN, and we were chatting to Paris and his parents, and they said, they said we used to live in the north before the Turkish invaded. I said, okay. They said, can you get over there? So the part of my job is I can go north, south, or in the middle. There's no restriction. They said, okay. Just wondered if you get a chance, could you find our old village for us? And out of a sense of loyalty and duty, I thought, I've been a right fucker lying to you. I said, I really need to make an effort on this one. And somebody had put me in charge of my troop, or my stick, if you like. And we'd gone on patrol about 3 or 4 days later on. So prior to that, I said, look, give me the address, give me the map coordinates, tell me the name of the village, draw a diagram of where your house was. This is pre-mobile phones, anything, no sat-navs, it's just down to the old classic map. So just give me some ideas, I'll try and find it for you. So he gave me this crudely drawn map and the name of the town, and 2-3 days later I'm on patrol. So I said to the guy, I said, look mate, we're going to fuck off over to the north, we're going to go and find an address. So we looked on a map, it wasn't too far, it's about an hour into the northern half, which we're not supposed to do, but we could get away with it. So off we went on this jolly, and we're meant to be patrolling the buffer zone, keeping the Greek Cypriots apart, but fuck it, let's go find this address. So we get into the northern half, and it's like a lot of it, unless you're on the coast of the northern half of Cyprus, it's quite militarised. There's not a lot going on. A lot of it is abandoned. So looking on their map, on the map I've got, they're drawn, right, okay, I found this, but the problem we've got is all the names on the streets here are in Turkish. And all the stuff on the map is in Cypriot or possibly English. So I had to go and buy another map, a Turkish version of it, compare the two, look at the names, right, okay, it's that way. So off we went to this little village. Totally abandoned. I mean, you're talking there's nothing there. It's like it's been deserted for, what, at the time, 20 years? Maybe just over 20 years. Look at this crudely drawn sort of thing. Right, okay, I think that might be the house there. Nothing there. There's like a few bits in the garden. Photographs taken on the old 35mm. Took a few pictures. Took a few photographs of the local village hall. Little bits around the village. And forgot about it. Went back, did me other 6 days rotation. 9 days later on, I went back down to Limassol. There you go, give him the 35mm, said, I don't know, let me know. So I had me 2 days on the piss, went back to see him after the third day, and they come back, and the mum ran out and gave me a massive hug. She said, you found our house. And I found it exactly as they'd left it. They literally packed the bags and ran in 1974, 75, right then. They literally, even down to the stuff left in the garden was theirs. No one living there. And so I found the village. I found the school that they went to. And it made me feel less guilty about being a twat lying. So then their friend said, can you go over and get a photograph of our house? And then they'd go on these little excursions over the northern half, getting photographs of these different villages and towns. Because I felt kind of bad that I'd lied to them about me being half Cypriot. But it was hell of a jolly in the end. Yeah, it was quite good. I bet. But rewarding.
And then what then? So what was your movements after that?
So Cyprus, we came back to Germany.
When did you leave the army?
95.
When you left the army, what was your next steps?
Well, the aim was to go into close protection.
Yeah.
So at the time, my dad had left the police force. He was working in CP work anyway. He was doing lots of protection, lots of surveillance. And I thought, Dad, I'm getting out. I've had enough. I met a girl. I wanted to make it work. I said, distance relationships just weren't working out for me. He said, look, I've had enough, Dad. I'm been in it. He said, all right, but think carefully what you're going to do. What do you want to do? I said, I did allude to the fact that maybe the police, he said, don't bother. He said, possibly CP. I said, yeah, I can do that. So I did a course with Task International in Maidstone. It was ex-SBS. Good setup, 4-week course, plotted up an hotel, did a really quality high-end CP course with them. It was armed. Because we were military, we could do armed practice down in a place called, I think it was Lydney Airport. We did the firearms practice. We did hostage rescue, counteraction team, escort sections, BG work. You name it, we did it.
What BG, what's that?
Bodyguard work. It's basically close protection officer.
Yeah.
So we did a lot, and it was cracking. It was a really good course. Really enjoyed it. And I left the forces handed me ID in. It was the end of August 95. Now, the problem I had was I did the course in April 95. Came back to a unit. Now, my unit weren't there. Most of them had gone off to Canada to do something called OPFOR, which means they provide enemy for other regiments over there. So I was back to a regiment which just had a rear party, which means just a few lads that are literally keeping the pilot light on. So I spoke to the guy in charge at the RSM. I said, look, I'm kicking around doing nothing. Can I just fuck off? He said, what have you got left leave-wise? So I've got about 3 or 4 weeks leave left. I said, I've got 4 weeks termination leave, and I said, it leaves me sat here with like 5 or 6 weeks just fanning about. He said, just pack your bags and go and get on your way. You may as well. You're not serving any purpose here. So I ended up with about maybe 3.5 months on leave when I came out. So I got back to England round about, I think, the beginning of June, thereabouts. Which, as a squaddy, going back with maybe 3 to 4 months paid leave is great.
Yeah.
But the problem I faced with that was, it's also 3 months, 4 months of possibly being on leave, being slightly reckless. Yeah. Because I don't need to worry about working because I'm getting paid by the army still. Yeah. So the kind of aspect of my transition out of the forces into Civvy Street, if you like, on the face of it at the time seemed this is great, but on reflection it was really crap because I didn't have to worry about things. Yeah. So I ended up just kind of getting some casual door work, doing some surveillance work, and then doing some CP work, a bit of working with top guard security, doing things like boxing venues, did Oasis gig in '96 at Nebworth, which these were all kind of little bits of transition which didn't help me because I started seeing the world was changing. Yeah. Now when I went into Army in '88, the rave scene was really just bubbling up at that stage. Didn't really have anything to do with it. Acid House came in around about 1990. A little bit
earlier than that.
89, so it was beginning to come in onto the scene. Yep. Again, oblivious to all of this, the culture involved in that. But what I was also oblivious to was the fact that a lot of people that I knew were starting to engage in ecstasy and amphetamine. Yeah. Now, I'd already tried amphetamine on leave once, and I didn't realise I was off my tits. I just thought I was having a good night. And then when I came out in '95, I was given a pill. Yeah. That changed my life completely. Yeah. Totally. And for different reasons.
Do you remember what pill it was?
Yeah, it was a dirty dollar, we called it.
Was it?
Yeah. The reason I saw my friend, and I just come off the door from the bar I was working in, and I got to the club, which was called Odyssey at the time.
Whereabouts?
Bristol.
Okay,
Central Bristol.
Yeah.
Got into the club, and we're chatting. I'm coming down off of my Amphet, off the speed. Yeah. I was feeling a bit, this isn't it. He said, why do you have a pill? I went, fuck it, go on then. And he just disappeared for like 5-10 minutes, and he came back and he said, here you go, mate. I went, cheers, mate, thanks. So I just necked it, and I said, what is our dirty dollars? Because he was already wasted. Yeah. He said, dirty dollars, mate. I went, oh God, all right, fuck it, down there.
See what happens.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound. So I necked it, and then I think half hour later, 40 minutes later on, everything changed. The music got louder, the bass was booming, and I could hear people's voices across the club. Standard stuff. Yeah. But what happened as well was the hypervigilance, which I have always suffered with, was gone. Yeah. No more. Didn't give a fuck. Yeah. Didn't care about what was happening over there. Didn't care what they were doing. Didn't care what was happening by that fire exit. Yeah. Didn't care who stood behind me. Yeah. I just cared about getting on that dance floor and dancing. That's all I cared about.
Were you a good dancer? Or you thought you were?
Standard, mate, yeah. I thought it was great. I thought it was amazing. It was like standard dance music. Yeah. It is not elaborate, but I just, mate, it's the first time I ever let myself go. Yeah. Totally let myself go.
You can't beat the 90s for clubbing.
Yeah. It was that
and that whole scene from '88, music. From the acid house scene, then it going from the raves outside, then going into the club scene.
The clubs, yeah. And that's when I got introduced into it in '95, when it was going mainstream into the clubs. You had... we was like gods. You Judge Jules, Jeremy Healy, all these
whole lot,
big Brandon Block, all the massive.
Brandon's been on the podcast. In fact.
Has he?
He lives down here now.
Does he really?
Yeah, he moved down here. Great bloke. He's like a cat. He's literally had 10 lives.
Yeah, because wasn't he the one that turned it pissed up at the Brits?
The Brit Awards goes on stage. Yeah,
I saw that. I thought,
mate, he's a great bloke.
Yeah,
some stories as well. But so what was the scene then? You said your life changed. From that '95, taking that your first E, loving it. What was the next movements for you?
Well, I think I didn't really have a plan after that. Yeah. The whole plan was.
The whole plan was look for another E.
When's the next weekend?
Yeah, exactly.
When's the next weekend? And we've kind of had a group. I kind of my door work. I've been that. I thought I'm not doing a door. While I'm standing there watching these people having a good time, and I could be in there having a good time. There's no logic in that. Yeah. So I kind of started hitting my weekends. And we had a close group of friends, only about 4 of us, but we were really good mates. We'd stuck together all through my coming on leave. We'd go to Newquay on the piss together, bank holidays. We were a close-knit bunch, and we were all messing with ecstasy. And it was a case of that one of the guys would go sort the pills out, that'll be our night. We'd have our night. That'd be it. Now he in the end decided he didn't want to do it anymore because he was getting stressed, he was getting worried, and we needed someone to do it. So like, okay, look, I'll go and get him. Ain't no problem. It's only 4 fucking pills. Yeah. Ain't no problem. So I went and did that, and then I got them a little bit cheaper, and suddenly found out that I'd get mine for free. Oh, that's good. I've now got a slightly cheaper night because I've done what I don't consider as a risk, but other people would say, well, that's a risk. For me, it wasn't, because I'm used to doing much more risky things in the army. So my the way I would process risk and evaluate it was in a different scale, if you like. And a lot of people who serve, they have a similar mindset to that. So grabbing a small handful of pills of 4 or 5 wasn't really a problem, and that's really where it started. I didn't really officially sell any. I didn't really go into the game of wanting to sell pills. It wasn't really my aim. So this was going on sort of like I guess from the summer of 95 leading up a little bit, and then we moved into 96, early 96, and I went to a rave. It was the Pete Tong Essential Selection in Milton Keynes Sanctuary. And this is when, for me, this is the heyday of the pills. Now. We had a good group of friends. We'd all sort of been socialising together, and we went off to this thing. We had a load of pink Callies at the time, and I think I had like 3 for my night. Because I don't normally eat many, but I thought 1 or 2 would do me. And I'm clearly absolutely hammered in this club, having the best time. And someone come to me and said, "Oh, have you got, what are you on?" I said, "Oh, pink Callies, mate. Got any spare?" I thought, have I? Do I need any more? Have I got a spare one? I keep one for say. And I remember lifting the little bag up, I'm looking at it through the lights, and my mate says, "Fucking hell, Rich, you're blatant." I said, "Hang on, 1, 2. Yeah, I got a spare one. How much? Oh, give us a tenner." And that was the first pill I really sold to a stranger in a club. Could have been cool or anything. I didn't really care at the time. But I had the best night. That was the first proper organised event I went to, which, I mean, you at school, you get these big dues, these big gigs, and they're proper, aren't they? The atmosphere is unreal, the people. And like I say, back in the 90s, that's when it was its heyday.
Well, everyone could plan. We'd all go planning. You get mixed mag, everyone get mixed mag, everyone plan what weekend, where they're going, what they're doing. The whole build-up was for the weekend to get on a 2-day.
The whole week. You literally recover on a Wednesday, and what we do on the weekend. Because you just start.
Exciting, wasn't it?
You put your head up and go, "Oh, I feel okay now, let's plan
this
for the
whole
weekend."
new scene, this whole new world come to us. It was
just unreal.
So from serving, accidentally selling your first pill for a tenner, what was the next steps from there? What went on?
So I think in conjunction with that, these little bits happening around me at the time, all that I left the army for, it didn't work out. It was never going to work out. She wasn't really involved in the nightlife that I was involved in, having to lie to her about taking drugs, and I thought, this isn't working out. I was getting very promiscuous. I was involved in a scene where it didn't matter. No one had any fucks to give. It was just enjoying. And I think I got sucked into it, partly because at that time then I was beginning to miss the structure and the sense of belonging which the forces had given me, and that was quite powerful. A very, very strong sense of belonging which you have when you join up, and when that's gone, you've got this big old void in your life. And I'm filling it with all this rave culture, which really seemed to make sense, and the taking the risks of getting involved in banging out the odd little pill here and there really seemed to tick a few boxes for me, and it made sense. It felt right. So the army had gone, but this rave or this dance scene, it really filled it quite nicely. Almost carbon copy. I mean, the job role was different, but every element of it added to my life in the same way. It replaced everything that the forces did have. And I ended up getting involved in just buying a couple of pills more, and it was a case of people would have a good time. You could see a good atmosphere around you. You could feel that me being involved in something. I was kind of, not that I want to be a focal point, that was never what I wanted, but to be the middle of something was nice, because when I was in the forces coming on leave, you're just this little satellite on the outside. You're not current with anyone. You don't know who's seeing you. You don't know who's doing what job they're doing. You're always playing catch up. So you're always kind of busy playing catch up. So you're never really involved in that community in the way that you think you're, because you're different then. Your family is in the forces. But for a change, I was that one in the middle, and I felt like I belonged to something, and it was a nice sense. It was false, but it was nice, and people would see that, and they'd come and say, "Oh, have you got any pills?" And no. So I said, "However, I'll bring some next week." So I started laying on a bit more than 4 or 5. Oh, let's have 20, let's have 30, let's have 40, let's have 100, and it kind of plateaued for a while on 100 or 200 a week, and then we had something happened mate of mine I used to serve with actually, he was taking a trip back from Liverpool, and he rang up and he explained what he was doing. I said, we've had a bit of a duff. We couldn't get anything. Can you get anything? I said, yeah, we get them all the time, mate. No problem. And we ended up. He said, well, my guys down there, 1,000 at a time. I thought, 1,000 bills. I'm rubbing my hands. I said, we're in the money now. It wasn't big money back then.
How much were you picking them up a pop each one?
Back then, I think we're paying about on 1,000, 4 or 5 quid. And that was on when they were still okay.
And were you flipping them up for 10s and 15s? Or
no, we were banging them out in batches, so we were probably sticking about 7s and 8s. So we weren't making a huge amount of money.
Okay.
I had a partner at the time, business partner, he's ex-forces. And between us, we were just spunking the money.
Yeah.
It was for our weekend.
Plain money, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's all it was. It was nothing more serious, just to afford our nights out. It wasn't a lavish lifestyle. But it was a lifestyle that we liked because we were both craving to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And so the 1,000 kind of increased our buying power, which brought mine down a little bit. And when you take the time and effort to count 1,000 pills, there's always extras.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a load of dust as well.
A load of crumbs, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got all the dust and the bits, and they bag them up into grams, sell that off. So you think, oh, actually, I'm not doing too bad. I'm making a drink on the 1,000.
Yeah.
It's brought my buying power down, so I'm buying mine for 4 or 5 quid a shot, and I've got like 30 broken bits,
a load of Percy for yourself,
5 grams of powder, which I can do that later on, and so on and so forth. So I started to see what potential could be done with the. That's not quite wholesale yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Did you sense at the time it's going that way, or were you just in it going, this is easy?
Yeah, I didn't ever have any aspiration for it to go to where it ended up. It was just one weekend at a time, and a lot of it was just chasing up money, getting the bill paid, getting the next lot on,
flipping the money over.
Groundhog Day, constantly doing the same thing. And I think it remained that way until about 98, when I met she's now my ex-wife, and she wasn't involved in that at all. She fell pregnant with our first son, and he was born in 99. The minute we found out she was pregnant, and I think maybe it was a bit of a cry for help at the time, because at this time I've been 3 years on the go, and that's quite a lot. Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, smashed every night, and then spending a good 2-3 days recovering, and you might have 1 day of clarity where you're stressed out trying to get the money in. So I thought, right, okay, that's it. Let's get a job. I need a job, because my parents were seeing me as someone that's signing on. Yeah. Obviously didn't know I was selling drugs. Yeah. I thought, I need to change this.
Did your old man, as a copper, know anything that was going on at the time?
He never alluded to or let on that he was aware of it, but I became really good at being evasive from a very young age because of having a dad as a copper. Yeah. If you'd done something in the house and you knew you were going to get in trouble, you learned to cover your tracks pretty well. Yeah. So I guess I was trained from a young age to be evasive and avoid the police, whether even as my dad or not.
Subconsciously even.
Yeah, it's just a little software in the back of your mind. So no one knew, or no one let on that they knew anyway. So when she fell pregnant, I just got a random job working for a textiles company delivering tea towels. It was shit, but it was a job, and on paper it looked better than what I was doing, which was nothing. Yeah. The problem with that is I also then stopped going out clubbing on the weekends. I thought, well, she can't go out, because she's not going to be drinking. I'm not going to go out on my own and leave a pregnant girlfriend in the house, so I was staying with her. So I stopped going out on weekends. I stopped taking pills. Started doing a bit of coke here and there, but I stopped taking pills. So what I found then was I discovered Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. I found these 3 days which hadn't existed for probably 3 years, because I was no longer suffering with a come down. So that boosted my motivation. I was driven a bit differently, and I found that working in a textiles business, delivering random tea towels and bath sheets to hotels, I had a van, which was perfect cover for delivering my drugs. So I then started to look at expanding the business. I was selling a bit of pot anyway, a bit of amphetamine. Never really got involved in coke at that stage, but certainly the pills. So I was then going from doing 1,000 pills up to maybe 4,000 or 5,000 pills a week. Yeah. But the van was great cover. Yeah. Because all of a sudden I didn't have to worry about being in my own car. I had an excuse to stop off anywhere. I had a tea towels I could pop into a building or an establishment as a package. Within that would have been what they wanted. Yeah. It was great. So I started that job for about 3 years, and it really worked well. My son was born, and I just continued on that track. But then the pill market died around 97, 98 when the drought came in, and it just fell flat on its ass. Yeah, totally flat on it. There was nothing around for a good 6 months. Yeah, the mixers were introduced, which gave it a rebirth. Then the price war started, buying them for pence. literally pence.
They were pennies. The Mitsubishis come in, they were cheap. They were quid a pop, weren't they?
Yeah, we were buying 10,000 for like 40p's.
Wow.
But we were only making pence. I was selling them in
Yeah.
thousands. I was only making like 100 quid on 1,000 pills. What is the point in that? Once you paid a wage and storage, I'm 40 quid.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's daft. So right, I can't. What's the deal? I'll start selling coke then. There's a market there. So,
here we go.
Yeah, so that's when it all started. So around 2000, it was about 01, I kind of started entertaining selling coke, but in bits and bobs, nothing major. I was sort of like, again, friend of mine, I was using his buying power through a guy who used to work up in the Midlands. He would bring stuff down. I'd grab a few bits on top of it and just test the water, see where it's going. Still sell some pills because there was still a market for it, but it wasn't worth just doing it. So if I'm going to go and deliver some coke, let's provide a comprehensive service, if you like, which is what I was doing. And I didn't really take it too seriously until about 2002. I just got married at this stage. I thought I was getting fed up with just buying it in and selling it on. I thought, let's just start fucking with it. Let's start making our own up and repressing. I spoke to a friend of mine and he said, yeah, I'm up for that. He's got a good market. He's got all the contacts. I just had the idea. So we got in the press and the moulds and the various things we mixed with it, and we started cutting it ourselves. And that's when it kind of really started. So about 2002, it really started to pick up. We're doing a lot.
Give me an example when you got the press in, and so the listeners understand, what is that for?
So what you do is, the correct phrase is adulterating the drugs. You're cutting it, stamping on it, pressing it. So you're mixing maybe 1 kilo into 3, 4, 2, however far you want to stretch it, depending on the customer base. So you would have a mould made out of, let's say, a very strong metal, stainless, for example. I don't want to give away too much. I don't seem to be telling people how to do it. You'd have a mould. You'd have a 10-ton hydraulic press, which is used in garages for taking out things like bearings. It's got a ram that comes down. You'd literally package the coke, remix it, put it into this mould, and press it down under 10 tons of pressure. Pop it over side, there you go, one solid block. Job done. There you go. On you go.
So, for example, how much was a key back then for you?
So the first time we started getting keys back in is about 02, and we were paying around about 27 grand.
Okay.
And it was good.
And when you're looking at, like, when you bring in a kilo there, what was your initial, going 50-50? How are you splitting it?
So he was doing the majority of it.
Yeah.
So we might take one and turn into 3, which is
Okay.
what the average thing we would do. He would be probably putting out about 2 3/4 of that. I'd be just like doing a 9.
Yeah.
And they'll be sort of testing the waters with that and seeing where it goes.
When you say testing the waters, when you're splitting the cocaine up and then you are going, okay, well, a third of it's cocaine, 2/3 of it's not. What was the other 2/3?
So at the time we were using something called mannitol at the time, which I think is something to do with horses. I have no idea. It's like a benign white powder.
Okay.
I think the common misconception is that people use things like rat poison, washing powder, speed.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to kill your customers.
Yeah.
You want to keep them happy and on board. So use something which is either maybe which has no real effect itself, or something which can offer like a placebo effect. So there's various things that we would use, and across the years, as we got further and further involved in it, we gained access to different suppliers which could provide you the cutting agents. And in the end, sometimes the cutting agents were worth as much, if not more, than the coke itself, because the value of a drum of caffeine, for example, some people pay £2,000 or £3,000 for a drum of caffeine for 20 or 20, I think it's 20 kilos. But that in itself, 1 kilo of that is effectively probably worth 10, 15, 20 grand.
Yeah.
Because you're mixing it with 90% pure.
Yeah.
Other things, benzocaine, novocaine, lidocaine, anything with cane is generally fairly
Harry
good.
Kane?
Harry Kane, yeah.
Michael Kane?
Michael Kane, chuck him in the mix, here we get on there.
So let's go back to that. You're bringing a key for 27.
Yeah.
You're splitting it, you're taking a third out. What were you selling that key for?
So they were I think at the time, 9s were going up about 7.5 grand a 9.
Yeah, okay.
So in average, you get one at 27, then
Yeah.
you get it 3 kilos.
Yeah.
That's 12 sevens, that's what, 63, 70, 84.
Wow, okay.
So that's
some big dollar in it.
Yeah, there's a good sort of markup.
There's a good 40, 50 grand in a key.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when that first started, where were you doing that? Were you doing it in
various places?
Okay.
Yeah,
were you on the move constantly?
You'd move. You'd find people that you trusted,
Yeah.
and they'd rent out a room, maybe. Yeah. I've been in a position where when I was doing better, I would rent someone a flat,
Yeah.
and say, right, there you go, a 2-bed flat. I'll put you in that. You live there rent free. I just want the spare room.
Yeah. And did they know what you were up to?
They'd have a good idea.
Yeah. Did that not make you paranoid, knowing that other people and knowing what you're up to? Because, you're saying you were evasive growing up as your old man's a copper. Surely you'd go somewhere where no one knows nothing.
Well, that's a difficult thing with that industry. In order to make sales, you need customers. There's always going to be someone that's going to know.
Yeah.
Building a network around you, you get this stupid sense of, I suppose, invincibility, where you think you might get caught, but you just hope that you don't.
Yeah.
So you have to start trusting people. If you're going to expand, you have to trust people. There's only so much you can do on your own. And if you're bringing in, let's say, for example, 1 or 2 kilos, and you're turning that into 6 or 7, and doing it all on your own. So you're taking a trip to London, Liverpool, pick it up. You're doing the corridor, the M4 corridor, the M5, whichever one it might be. So you've got one meeting there. That's one chance you can go wrong.
Yeah.
Generally in transit, you're okay, unless you really fuck up and crash. You're driving like a dickhead, which you shouldn't be doing a job anyway. Yeah. You then got to think, right, I've got to repress this. So you've got to do all that on your own. Yeah. That's hours of work. It's not a quick job to turn one into, say, maybe 3 or 4, sometimes more, depending if there's a drought. You're looking at several hours of hard work in a room, in a house, where the door could go any time. That is really heavy paranoia, because you should mask up, should glove, but you don't. Yeah. These are the days you get in and just get on with it. Yeah. So you're breathing in caffeine, you're getting palpitations, you're breathing in the coke. You're not getting the plus side of it. You're just getting the negative side to it.
When you were going to collect the cocaine from your London or your Liverpools and bringing it back, where were you testing it?
So I take it on face value. So once you've got the link and you know that the goods are good, you only really have to test it on the first meeting to make sure that they're genuine and it's any good. And I wouldn't be sniffing that. There's no chance I'm going to go and have a line and start thinking about carrying that back. Yeah. Either you take someone with you as a guinea pig, or you look at it and you either wash it up, which I don't know, you convert it into crack. You do a measurement test. So you weigh it, a gram, you clean it, you make sure it's dried out properly, as it should be, and then you weigh it again. It comes back at 0.7 a gram, is 70%, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's an indication. But washing up a gram of coke is a dirty, filthy process. Yeah. It's effectively making crack, which I just threw in the bin. Didn't want it, but it's the only way to really get a surefire way of testing how pure it is. So
was there ever a time where you were dealing with the wrong people, where you were totally out your depth?
All the time. Yeah. Most of the time. The early days, as I said, this minefield. You meet people, you think, I don't like working with these people. Yeah. These are hard work. These are erratic. These people are dangerous. Yeah. But in that world, you meet people, and when you're making them money, they're your best mate. Yeah. When you're not, they're not your best mate. They're on your case. You're no good to anyone.
Was there ever a time when you totally had the fear about something?
Yeah, but I can't go into it. But there are times when you've had enough. I've been sat. I admitted myself to hospital in 2007 because I'd had enough. I was trying to get this debt paid off, and I thought, I can't do it anymore.
Were you using as well?
No, I'd binned it by then.
So you'd binned it, so you were clean, so your head was straight.
I did a clean
you still had this debt, but you were under serious pressure.
Yeah, the pressure was immense. It was immense. I'd had enough. I was going to try and take my life in November 2007. I'd had enough. No, 2006, sorry. I'd had enough.
You were going to take your own life?
Yeah, I was ready to die. I checked into the local hospital in Bristol, into Frenchy Hospital, risk of suicide, mental breakdown. And I went in there and I said, look, I couldn't tell them why I'd had a mental breakdown. I said, look, my business has gone completely tits up. I can't face it anymore. And they diagnosed me with severe depression. And the following day they discharged me, and I was sat in my car. I was sat on the passenger side, and I was thinking, my phone's been off all night because I was meant to be collecting money up. I'd had enough. I was meant to go and collect dough up, and I just switched the phone off, which isn't like me. Not even to my wife, no one. I told no one nothing. Switch your phone on. There's a load of missed calls coming through, a load of messages coming through. And I sat and I just looked down. I had a knife in the glove. I was picked up my wrist, and I started thinking, and I couldn't do it. Just sort of like thought of my sons, and I thought, I can't do this. Thought of my boys, and after that, I thought, no, you can get through this. So I then went to the doctors, got me happy pills. Within 3 days, I was in a different state of mind. I started to sort of manage the day-to-day. So the imminent threat or the feel of anxiety and stress had been sort of reduced significantly enough for me to sort of focus on it. And then the opportunity came up the following year. This was like back end of 06, early 07. the guys or the chap that owed the money to, he said, look, you know, he said, we got a way you can pay it off a bit quicker. I was down to about, at this time, about 30 grand left on the debt. And he said, oh, we've got a way you can pay it off. And I said, what's that? Do you want to start bringing it over? I said, fuck it, why not? So, yeah.
That was your get out.
That was the opportunity then to start paying the debt and become useful again. Yeah. So it was then offered the opportunity to start looking at going over to Spain to link up with people over there and start being part of a smuggling operation and bringing it from Spain over to the UK. So that was the opportunity I had, which I embraced.
When you had that opportunity, were you immediately like, yeah, I'll have this, a piece of this?
Didn't think twice.
Okay.
Not even a second, not even a hesitant thought. Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Tell me what your route was. What did you do? Did you have to fly out there? What did you have to bring back?
I did 3 trips, and luckily I didn't have to carry anything on the trip. So the way that it played out was, the aim was they wanted me to bring back a couple of kilos for them. And
equivalent price back then, roughly?
Over there, they were 22,000 euros a piece, or 20,000 euros a shop, and the exchange rate was about 1.4 at the time. So
right.
it was
15 grand, 16 grand, something like that. Okay.
Yeah. It was worth it. Yeah. Definitely worthwhile, considering they could easily double the money.
Yeah.
So got over there. The aim was I was going to put this well orchestrated plan. The aim was to go to Barcelona, which was the pickup point. Perfect. That's just over the border. So what I'm going to do, it's February, it's cold, I'm a keen skier, let's put on the guys, I'm going to go skiing in Andorra for 3 days. So off I went, got the boat down. We changed the money up in London, changed up from English into euros in a dodgy little shop, which you could do then. Get 500 euros back, 500 euro notes back, which are reduced the amount of money you're carrying. From a small holdall to an envelope, which was quite handy. Get that over. The aim then was to go down to Andorra, where I'd then book into a hotel, get a lift pass for 3 days, which is what I did. I paid for the lift pass for 3 days, hotel for 1 night because it was a long old day, and then the aim was to meet the guy over in Barcelona the following day, and then pick it up and bring it back up through. Got a phone call, so by the way, you're not going to Barcelona, you're going to go to Fuengirola. Where the fuck's that? It was just a bit further down, like another day's drive. Yeah. So it's Fuengirola. So I got down there that night about 11 o'clock to meet my bat, and Scouser of all fucking people. I thought, here we go. Please don't do this. So he put me in a hotel for the night. So he said, all right, lad, we'll stick you in a hotel. You've had a long old drive. I thought, yeah, science. I'll come and see you in the morning. I'll have a look over your car, check it all out, make sure everything's okay. Yeah, no worries, mate. So I had my hotel. I thought, this is all right. I'm in the hotel and I'm chilling out. The first time in a long time I felt relaxed. It wasn't hot, but it wasn't cold. It was Spain, south of Spain in February. It is what it is. So I'm just relaxing, not really thinking about the potential of what is going to be going on in the coming days. And he said, we're just waiting on the kit to come through. When I saw him the next day, let's have a look over your car. So I want to make sure it's okay for doing what you got to do. I had a renter. It was a Passat, VW Passat, dark. It was a blender. It was fine, did the job. But little did I know, it doesn't really do the job, because a renter car over to Spain for 3 days is a red flag for customs, as is a single guy driving a car back over is also another red flag. So he's looking over the car, popped the boot open, and in the back of the boot I've always got with me my army sleeping bag, because you never know what's going to go wrong. If I got that, at least, and also for me, it's a get out of jail free card with the police. If I get pulled by the police and the army sleeping bag, it's a talking point. It's ex-forces, and you get a little bit of a touch sometimes. If they've served in the forces, you might have a little touch. So I had multiple reasons why it was in there. And the guy looked in the boot, he said, what fucking unit were you, mate? So I was a tanky. He goes, I used to be in the Royal Green Jackets. So fucking squaddy, perfect. Straight away, bang, we're mates. Instantly. So right, look, lad, come with me. I'm just going to get something to eat and have a sit down. So straight away, the whole relationship changed immediately. Yeah. We had that common ground. He said, look, what's the crap? This is what we're going to do. And he said, look, I'll be honest with you. You fit the description of a smuggler. Your car fits the description of a car used for smuggling. He said, we've got stuff going over the border anyway. So you work with us and we'll take your stuff over for you. We'll save you doing that channel. That 20 miles of water, which is very pure fear, because I hadn't even planned I was going to smuggle it over there. He said, we'll do it for you. You just help us out on what we're doing. Oh yeah, no worries. So do that. So then we bonded this this relationship between me, him, and this other ex-squaddy who was like the enforcer, if you like. So there's 3 of us doing this. We did it for like 2 or 3 months, just bouncing up and down across the border, which worked well. So I didn't have to carry anything. I just literally drove a car ahead and just checked that the various peages and the tolls were clear of police, because they do have police on them now and again, especially when you're going to cross the border by Bilbao.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a heavy border. So there's crossings we got around there. So the trip would have been usually, because we were picked up in Madrid in the end, was meet up with a Colombian sort of like firm in Madrid, grab what you need, and then the guy responsible for carrying it would be in a different vehicle, and we would escort him like a satellite, escort him across up through Spain, up through Bordeaux, past Paris, up towards the Channel Tunnel crossing, and over we go. And
so is the Channel Tunnel you coming through?
No, the guy was a courier working in Europe, so he wasn't even English. He'd come across, and he had a regular transit across anyway, so he would then be given the goods. He would take it across, and then that was kind of outside of my... that was something they had going anyway.
But you were still getting paid full whack for doing that?
Still get paid, yeah, because in turn what I was doing, because I was working for them, they would then make sure I got paid. So I'd use the money for them to live on. The money got paid from these guys, I'd start paying the debt off.
Right, okay.
Which I secured the debt, I paid it off the back end of 2007.
Right, okay.
So
and then that relationship built into what?
Yeah, so all these 18 months of pure hell of trying to pay a debt off, apply myself to get this, reduce the size of this hole in my life. Once that hole was paid off, I thought, I've got some disposable income now, because at the time I'd been building new contacts, slowly rebuilding my business. So I found that over the beginning of 2008, I then took on a new runner. Good mate, ex-forces, took him on. I took on something else. I started to build it again, and I found that my customers, I'd proven myself that I was not... I'm the sort of person that if I've got a bill, I'll fucking pay it. Whatever it takes, I will pay that bill. So people trusted me. I was really trusted. So I was introduced into new networks, and then it went from sort of 08 into 09. I was really sort of then at the point where I was doing anything between nothing and 10 kilos a week. Yeah. It would vary. It would sometimes be nothing. Sometimes it might be more.
So you're doing from 0 a week to 150 grand a week in cocaine.
Yeah, so profit-wise, I wish. So by this time I'd come in, around about 09, we were suffering with some issues with cocaine coming through properly. Yeah. Certainly into 10, but we'll go into that in a bit. So the amounts that could be made, it was such a competitive market at this stage that everyone was jumping on board. Everyone was doing it. Benzocaine was rife. It was anyone could find benzocaine, anyone could find caffeine, and they could find it in bulk as well. So the price war started with cocaine, and like the ecstasy market, the prices were driven right down. So there came a stage around about 2009 where nobody really knew what proper coke was, because all they were getting was heavily hit stuff with benzocaine, with lidocaine, novocaine, caffeine, pub grub, exactly that. It was like, buy 20 quid for a gram. Well, you're not getting much for that, are you? But that was what people got used to, and it became more of a placebo than anything else. So the price war started to really, you'd be looking at then, you'd be selling kilos out for like 15 grand, 20 grand, but they might be, luckily, it might be like 10%. Wow. Horrendous. Wow, that's terrible. Great from a seller's point of view, but crap from a user's point of view. But then again, it is what it is. That's the market. It's a greedy, ruthless, selfish individual's market.
Was there ever a time in this period, 09, 010, where you're thinking things are coming on top? You know, you were brought up by a copper. You knew, and you got a good sense. You got a good feel. You're not your normal, typical drug dealer. You're a chancer who's gone, you know what, I'll give it a go. This is easy money. Did you ever get a gut feeling of something's happening that doesn't feel right?
Yeah, so as you go through, you would be foolish to get involved in that world without knowing that if you don't stop at some point, you're going to get caught. Yeah. The only ways out of it, when I've always looked at it, is there's 3 ways out. You die, you get caught, or you actually make it. But the last one's a little bit moody, because you're only going to make it and stay in that industry for all that time if you turn. Because, let's face it...
If you turn what?
Turn and start working with the police.
Oh, work
There's
with the
very, very few people I can actually... I'm not going to say everyone, I'm not going to brand everyone, but very hard to go through that industry and be at a certain point where you're making that much money doing that well without people knowing what you're doing. Yeah. And if people know what you're doing,
Yeah.
so do the police.
And then jealousy kicks in as well with
Jealousy
people.
kicks in, yeah. And at that point, when you get to that point where you're making that much money, it's a classic case out of layer cake. You know, when you make that much money, you're doing that well, you don't care about any. All you care about is losing your money.
Yeah.
You don't care about anyone else.
Yeah.
So the indication I got was 2009 was my first close call with regards to an arrest. Motorsport was, I'd set the motorsport company up. I was doing launch motorsport, doing track days. I was doing time attack. I was starting to race at a semi-professional level. We branded it as living the dream. I really was living the dream because I'd gone through 2 years of near hell trying to pay off that bill.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm making some good money. So I thought, let's channel the money into a business. Let's do this properly. I might not get another chance. Let's make something of it. During a recession where no one else has got any money, I'm doing really well. Everyone else is fucked. I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
So I'm plowing money into cars, to tuning the cars, to
Yeah.
racing, and I'm beginning to think, I'm on my way out. I can see my exit strategy. There's the door. That's my way out. And this new lifestyle is giving me it's ticking all the same boxes that the drugs did. It gives me structure. It gives me risk. It will bring money in time. So we were becoming quite, I say we because I had a team of people with me, both had a drugs network of people, and I had my company profile as well. Not massive, but it was something it was picking up. And then 2009, I think it was the back end of October, we were due to go on a meeting, and my dad and his friend were due to come and pick me up, take me for a meeting with someone, something to do with an airfield, so we could go and look at another event. Knock on the door at about 7 o'clock. That's my dad's fucking early. There was a load of suits stood there, and they said, "Oh, is that Rich Jones?" I said, "Yeah." So I was West Mercia Police. I went, "Okay." He said, "We've got a warrant to search your house." And straight away I thought, "Fuck, this is it." Of course, my wife then is like, "What's going on?" "No, don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't know what it is." Because working in motorsport, you can get pulled into criminal circles anyway, so I had no idea. So they came in when the warrant said to search for evidence of unexplained wealth, and I thought, it's slightly ambiguous, isn't it? What exactly is this for? So we just got a warrant to search premises. Yeah, fine. There's nothing in the house. There's nothing there. So I'm thinking, what have I got in this house which could cause me a problem? So I'm sat in the kitchen with an officer, and they're really pleasant. They haven't nicked me. They just got a warrant. My wife, or then wife, was then gone out doing a school run. I'm left in the house on my own. My dad's outside in the car with his mate, wondering what the fuck's going on. Of course, old Bill, he's really questioning things. And I'm sat in there thinking, there's one thing in this house which could cause me a problem. There's only one thing. Everything else I'm pretty sure is clean. And in the kitchen, I used to have to keep a list of money that was owed in, money that's owed out. I had to keep a record of it somewhere. But I was always quite mindful that if you have a list which is blatant, that's evidence in itself. So mine was written on the inside flap of a box of Mars crackers, and open at the flap in pencil, it written in very, very light with just initials with a number next to it. And I thought, if they search that cupboard over there and they find that box and they see that written in there, then they've got something. So I had to think, right, I need to come up with an excuse to get rid of that fucking box. So they're searching the house and they're making their way downstairs and they're getting through, and I thought, I've got to do it now. Right, okay, breakfast. It's about 9:30. So the officer that was keeping an arm, I said, "Can I get something to eat?" He said, "Yeah, fill your boots, mate, carry on." So I went over to the cupboard. I got some butter out the fridge and I got these crackers out, and I sort of like laid 3 or 4 crackers out, but they'd been open for about 6 months, mate. They were stale. Yeah. They were like, and the aim was to just, I'm trying to spread the butter on and they're just sticking to the butter. And I was like, just eating them like, they've gone off really bad. So I crunched up the box, threw it in the bin, and left it in that. I thought, okay, so we didn't search. And the police eventually came round into the kitchen, and I think it's only 2 of them came in. They just literally opened the cupboards, looked through. That was it. They didn't even bother looking at the content. They weren't searching that hard. So the evidence that was there was in the bin, that was gone. They didn't check the bin. Had they seen that, that would have been an indication that something's going on, but they didn't. They got rid of it. So that was in 2009. So this was associated with someone that was a customer of mine. And it just sort of like seemed to go away. Nothing. They seized my laptops. They didn't even take my phones. They just took the laptops. They took a few little bits with them, and that just sort of faded away. Now that was in 2009, and I thought, okay, fair enough. We moved into 2010. I just carried on. I thought, well, let's give it a couple of weeks rest. Let's see what happens. But nothing came about, so we just let's fucking crack on then. So I reopened the business again about 2-3 weeks later on. started selling, and we kept on going. And then it came to April the following year, and they gave me a phone call. So we wanted you to come down for a voluntary interview. Yeah, okay, no worries. So I went down to that, got a solicitor down, had a voluntary interview, and it was just basically asking questions about, there was a couple of transactions of money going into someone's account up in Malvern area, and they wanted to question what that money was for. So, well, I sold him a car. He said, yeah, there's a document, that's the car he bought from me, it's registered in his name, it's mine. Why didn't you take the money all in one go? So we couldn't afford it. So we did it in little bits. And it was money for the car. They said, okay, yeah, fair enough, no further action. And the reason that no further action was taken was because I didn't realise at this time there was something else going on in the background. So around about the same sort of time, in 2009, I think just slightly before that, round about the summer, there was a robbery involved at a plant nursery, and it involved the guy that was working for me at the time, and he was kind of like managing things for me. He was going to be the person that was going to take over my sales, if like I was going to give him the whole business, just give me a retainer. I'll go into that shortly. And there was a robbery involved in this nursery by some local gangsters. So they knew that they weren't just growing plants to sell to the public. There were some other plants going on. They knew that this crop had come down. They wanted it, so they went as an armed robbery. And the lad that ran into, he basically got a call from his missus. I said, look, we're being robbed, help. So he was a builder. He ran into the scene, drove in. As he went, he had a taser with him, and he ran into what he did. Instead of running into tackling these armed robbers, he ended up bumping into the police because someone had already called the police. So he's unaware that when he ran into someone with a taser, the police were sat there waiting. They'd already arrived on the scene. So they arrested him, thinking he was part of the robbery. When they arrested him, they searched his premises, they searched everything associated with him, and they searched some outbuildings. And what they found was a press and some moulds and some cutting agents. They didn't find any cocaine, but they found residue of the cocaine. So that then meant he was being watched and he was on a bit of a lockdown. So park that one for now. So 2010 comes in. Best year and my worst year. So we started off, I'm going to be going now racing professionally. I'm going to be doing saloon racing, time attack. I sponsored a 3-car team in the British Drift Championship, and it was a big year. This was going to be the launch into my new business. The plan was that year is to really get out there, get social media going, get the car scene, get me seen, get everything known so I can open the garage in the end of that year. So we started looking at, we found a location, me and the chap that was arrested the following year. Location, we revamped this whole unit to create a really nice motorsport themed garage. Perfect. That was during the back end of the summer of 2010. All that through that year I was racing. It was just an incredible year. Massive outgoings, but I was channeled now to making this business work to give up the drugs. So we opened the garage on the 1st of October 2010 was the grand opening day. That was the thing. This was it now. I'm ready. I said to the guy, right, okay, all I want to do is hand you the drugs business, give it a couple of weeks, and let me pull some money in and hand it over to you, and then I just want a little retainer. Just chuck us 4 or 5 grand a month to cover the cost of the garage whilst we get it self-sufficient and it's up and running. And that was the agreement. 28 days later on, back end of October, one of my runners gets taken down, and he's carrying 1.25 kilos. Police on the M5 or just off the M5. I thought, shit, this doesn't happen. We don't give any reason to be arrested. So he's had a few run-ins with the police himself in times, but there's no reason for him to be nicked. So I shut down his remanded straight away. I shut down the drugs business, thinking this is not good. I've lost 1.25 kilos. I've now got to find 20-30 grand to cover the cost of that, which at the time I was actually skint because I applied everything into this garage. Everything had gone into that. So it was beginning now, the drugs business was beginning to falter, beginning to fail, because I literally rinsed the fuck out of it to get this garage open so I can just leave it behind. And also I got a 30-40 grand debt to play. I thought, shit. So I thought, nope, I'm shutting down. So the guy that was arrested the previous year, he said, do you want to keep going? I said, no, I'm done. All my runners are gone. I've lost everything. I've shut it down. I've shut down the whole enterprise. So all right, okay. So we give it another month. He said, do you want to go again? I said, no, I'm not doing it. He said, go on, just do one more. So all right, fuck it, go on. I need the money. So I sent a runner. He got me a runner. Sent this runner down south of Bristol, down towards just south of Bath. He picked some drugs up. And he got arrested. literally within 15, 20 minutes picking up, he got nicked. So that's 2 arrests in 2 deals in 2 months. Done nothing in between. I thought, definitely on top. I'm 100% sure now that I'm being watched. So that was it. I shut the whole thing down completely. So that's it. Completely destroyed the lot. So that's it. I'm having nothing to do with it. So New Year's Eve comes. It's a shit winter. 2010 was cold, really bad. I'm sat in a cold garage. I've got no customers because no one can afford nothing because it's a recession. I've got no money to keep it going. I was selling off the assets because that's, keep it going is because it's purely by selling stuff. The phone goes on New Year's Eve. It's a friend of mine. I used to just serve up a little bit of coke every now and again to. So, can you help me out? I said, no, mate, I'm done. He said, oh, please, it's New Year's Eve. I said, all right, I'll give you a number. So I give another number. I said, look, help him out, mate. I don't want nothing to do with it. Just do your thing. So New Year's Eve comes up. This is on the 30th, sorry. New Year's Eve comes up. And then I'll just assume they're going to go and do the thing. The phone rings to the lad. I said, yeah, what's up, mate? He said, I can't get hold of your mate. I said, have you rang him? Yeah, he's not answering. I said, well, just keep fucking trying him, mate. Don't ring me. That's not going to help, is it? And the phone rings again. It's the other guy. I said, what? He said, your mate, I can't find him anywhere. I said, have you rang him? Well, yeah, but I said, well, don't ring me. Now I've got a phone call from both these people. They do their deal. Thought nothing of it. That night goes, New Year's Eve, it's about 10:30 at night. A phone call goes from the guys buying it. He said, I just got out of the police station, mate. He said, what's that? He said, I just got nicked after buying that thing off your pal. For fuck's sakes. So that's 3 arrests in 3 months. That's the last cocaine I sold. Or last cocaine I had anything to do with. That was the New Year's Eve 2010. And then I'm now thinking, right, when are they going to come for me?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Just when?
Did you not think that way before?
I should have done, yeah. But I think you're pulled into this financial trap then. At this point then, I'm committed because I'm thinking, I'm going to get arrested. I just know it's going to happen. I'm just kind of hoping that it's not going to happen. I'm so geared up to this exit strategy of the motorsport. I'm kind of pulled by that. I'm so busy thinking of that. I'm not thinking about what's going on the outside of it. And that's that I think is the trap with drugs is it's not other people keeping it. You keep it, and you keep yourself in it yourself by your own greed, by your own desperation.
Did you not think when the old bill turned up from West Mercia Police, they all come in and do you not think, hold on a minute, this is on top, stop, cut everything?
Only for a moment.
Because you were greedy in that you had to fund your sports car business because you wanted to get out of the drugs, into sports car, live a clean life. Yeah, everyone's happy. Yeah, but the addiction of earning quick money will never go.
No, that's it, and it's that quick deal, is it? And that's the good analogy to use. It's quick money. It's far from easy. Yeah, it's not easy money, but it is quick and potentially lucrative. You stand to lose just as much, just as quickly. But that is there. It's the thought of like, just keep it going. And how do you walk away? Let's say you spend years building a successful business. You put everything into it. You give it everything you've got. You sacrifice everything to make it work. Yeah. And when it's finally working, that's when you should get out of the drugs game, when it's working. But why would you do that? I've spent years from it now when it's finally making money. But that's the right time to walk away. You set your goal, you make your money, you get the fuck out quick. You've always got to come back, haven't you? Yeah. You've always got a way to come back into it.
So where was it? Where were you? What date was it? Where were you when you got nicked?
So it was April the 13th, I think. I was sat in my garage, 2011, yeah. So we'd had a...
Were you still at it then?
No, all done.
So you were clean for the last 5 months?
I've not touched nothing since the December. So I was done and dusted. And we just moved into the motorsport season now. I think, right, we're into the motorsport season. Let's see if I can survive this. Get some customers online. So we'd had a good day at Castle Coombe Race Circuit all down the previous Saturday. We'd raised awareness. We're looking at the sun was out. It was getting warmer. I thought, you know what? It's going to be all right. I think I might have just slipped through the net on this one. Foolishly thinking that. So I sat in my garage on this Tuesday morning. And my garage, kind of in the reception, if you like, my office is upstairs. I'm sat in the reception, just opening up before everyone gets there. It's about 8 o'clock. And looking out through a door to my left, which looks onto a hard standing area where it's like a tarmac area for all the cars there, and it's just a little show area, if you like. And I just saw 3 dark cars just sort of drift by the door, just for that little slot. This is it. I didn't say that. I thought subconsciously, thought this is it. Yeah. This is the police coming to arrest me now. I thought I'd get up and go and have a look, because I couldn't see. I could just see the back of one car.
Yeah.
So I got up, walked out, saw 3 cars sort of debussing, if you like, with sort of like maybe 10 police officers, sort of casually dressed but smart casual. I thought, definitely the police, looking out for 100% is that the police. They're not coming for anything else other than to nick me. I said, good morning, how you doing? I said, Rich Jones. Said, yeah. They walked over, and the officer was really decent. He said, look, arresting you for conspiracies like cocaine or Class A drugs, namely cocaine, blah, blah, blah. I thought, yeah, fair enough. Got anything to say? No, I got nothing to say. What can you say? That's it. But it wasn't a traumatic event.
Yeah.
You still go into shock though, because although you're waiting for it, it's the thing that you've dreaded all these years. In all these 15 years of selling drugs. One of my first dealer ever said to me, he's a really good friend, he's out of it now. He said, when you get nicked, not if, when you get nicked, they said they're going to hit you with 3 things. Either it's going to be possession with intent, or conspiracy. He said, you don't want conspiracy, because if they get you with that, you're fucked. And when they say conspiracy, I thought back 15 years ago. Yeah, he said that. So straight away I thought, oh, it was so fucked.
What did the word conspiracy mean to you?
It just sounded like it was complex.
Yeah.
You know, and the definition is of a conspiracy is an arrangement or plan made by 2 or more people to commit a harmful or dangerous act. That's the definition of a conspiracy. I know it because it was read to me quite prominently by the police when they sat down and interviewed me. So that was it. I kind of like...
Did you feel relieved?
Yeah, about to say that. Totally.
Like Jesus, come on top. Jesus, I'm relieved now. Just, mate, put me in, Nick.
Yeah, because finally I thought, I'm out of this.
Yeah.
I haven't died, and I almost made it, because the garage was open on the 1st of October, but the investigation started on the 25th of September. So they started watching me. They were watching me for significantly longer.
They were watching you for way longer than that.
They would go back a year prior
easy,
to that. So
easy.
they had my name.
Yeah.
They knew what was going on.
Yeah.
They were watching me. They were just waiting for the right moment. And they seized and they jumped on it when they knew I'd given up. So it was like the last hurdle.
Did you not think... Like, it's easy to look back now, but did you not think at the time, I'm clearing all this dough, happy days, into that business? Did you not think someone looking at him and go, that's pretty obvious?
No, at the time it's such a gradual build that you think you're being clever.
Right, okay.
And although I was never done for money laundering, I am aware that Proceeds Crime Act is a real thing, and it's a real kick in the nuts. It's the sting in the scorpion's tail. So I was mindful that pocket is a thing, and that assets will be taken, and I need to be very clever about how I navigate that process, which, you know, I was hit with a pocket bill after I got the conviction.
How much?
It was just under $500,000 of realisable of benefit, which is quite low in consideration, and 17 grand in realisable asset, which is next to nothing, which I reduced that to £5 grand.
That's one key.
That's one. Yeah. So I got it under 5k, which I was happy with that. I was satisfied with that. And the $500,000 was dropped down to 125 because of my audited accounts.
What did they slap on you? How long did you get?
15 years.
You got 15?
Yeah. First offence. I only broke the law once, just did it for a long time.
Why did they give you so much, you reckon?
So with conspiracy, when they weigh up, once they finally get the guilty, and I ran a trial, I was arrested twice for conspiracy to supply. So one was by even the Somerset Soccer, which is now the NCA. Yeah. And 2 months later on,
Secret Organised Crime Agency back then.
Yeah, now it's NCA, the National Crime Agency.
National, okay.
So same thing, just different badge. Nicked twice, so I got found guilty on one, not guilty on the other, which is the correct outcome. And they weigh up the grander picture of the conspiracy, i.e., where do you sit within this attribution chart? So we've got three roles in 4 categories. You've got leading role, significant role, and lesser role. Then you've got category 1 down to 4. Now this will give you a chart of your roles and your categories, and it'll say, right, okay, so how much drugs were there involved in this conspiracy? Anything more than a kilo is category 1. So it's quite easy to get up to category 1. It doesn't take into consideration purity, it's the volume. But purity will go as an aggravating factor, which means leading role will put you in. So if you are the leading role, you're detached from the thing, but you're orchestrating it, which I clearly was. Your leading role, your category 1. And that range is 12 to 16 years. Starting point would be 14 years. So right, let's look at your aggravating factors: purity, any violence involved, any guns, any what have we got involved in that, closeness to source, are all seen as aggravating factors. Mitigating reasons, what have we got to bring it down? We haven't really got any, have you? It is what it is. So they looked at the starting point and said, we're going to give you 15 years because you're fairly close to source. There was no evident violence involved, which there never was, because it's a business, but we're going to give you 15 years.
Mate.
And that's it. It took a while to get over on that.
Did you, I was about to say, what was that feeling like when he said you've got 15 years? And did you know when you're serving up at the time, you're thinking, if I get nicked one day, I'm going to get a 7, I'll deal with it. I'm going to get a 9, I'm going to get 11. Did you ever think 15?
No, and how you put it across is actually spot on, because as you progress through this industry and you climb, which if you don't climb, that's fine, but if you climb, you see people around you get arrested, often. And you start off, they're getting 6 months, they're getting a year. A few years down the line, they're getting 3s and 4s, then they're getting 7s and 8s, then they're getting 9s and 10s, and you're thinking, fucking hell, I'm doing more than they are. If I get nicked, I'm going to be looking at least that. But you just kind of, you go on the basis that you just hope that you don't get nicked. So I was looking at the categories, looking at the role, so I know I'm leading role. I put myself insanely into category 2, which my estimation then was between 9 and 13 years. So I said, look, if I get about 10, because I served in the force, he's going to give me a touch. I had 10, maybe 11 in my mind. So I went into the sentencing with all the co-defendants that we had at the time. There were 13 of us arrested all together. Sat there thinking, right, yeah, I reckon about 10 or 11. And my ex-wife, my dad, kids were in there, obviously, and a few friends were in the public gallery. And when the judge gives you a sentencing, he doesn't just say it like on the TV and slams a hammer and says, well, you're given 15 years. He reads out a bit of spiel. He'll read as to why he's come to this conclusion and why he's given you such a significantly long sentence. And when it came to mine, he was just rattling off the stuff about mitigation, aggravating factors, and then so I come to the conclusion, I'm going to give you 15 years. And he carried on talking. I thought, you what, mate? Yeah. I just thought, did he just say 15? I looked across at my wife and everyone, and like that. Oh. The jaws had dropped, and I'm thinking, he just said 15. So I thought, fuck, that's a long time. And all I could do is, they said, take him down the back. All I could do, and I looked across at him, I said, I'll phone you later. That's all I could do. I couldn't think, because I see my wife was getting, my wife was starting to sort of, looks like she was going to have a breakdown. I saw the damage, immediate sort of damage to them, because they thought, not only has he been found guilty, but now he's been given 15 years. And I created this utter bullshit that I didn't do it. Yeah. They thought I was there innocent. They thought I had nothing to do with it.
Who did?
The whole family. I couldn't come. I ran a trial because I didn't want to admit to them that I turned into this drug dealer.
So did you go not guilty?
Yeah.
If you weren't guilty, what do you reckon you'd have got?
I'd have got 9 years, 7 months.
Did you know that?
Yeah, because I had a co-defendant who was on the same level as I was, and he went guilty straight away because everyone knew what he was doing. He got 9-7.
What made you not want to go, I'm guilty?
I think 2 things. One was the chance element of it. I fancy a fight on this one. I quite like the idea of running a trial. Yeah. I never stood in a box before and had to argue with the prosecution. That's crazy. I was given relatively poor advice that you've got a good chance, you've got nothing on you. Fight it, okay, no problem. And the fact that if I pleaded guilty and accepted the guilt, I'm opening the doors to everything they can throw at me. One of them is, how do I admit to my dad, who I'm extremely close to, that I've turned into a drug dealer? And the other one is, if I say guilty on this, I'm accepting proceeds of crime. So there's not just a trial, you're fighting not just a trial for the conviction, you're fighting a trial for the pocker as well. So you're accepting everything. And I wasn't willing to accept that. I thought, I'm going to fight it. But in hindsight, the 15 years was necessary for me to achieve what I needed to achieve with regards to what I did in prison.
What did you do in prison?
So when I got locked up, 7.5 years of that is going to be inside. So you go to a category B prison initially, which is for longer termers. Not high security, but it's much higher security than a Cat C. Spend 2 years getting yourself sort your shit out, get fit, get healthy. I was quite overweight. I was unhealthy, so I got sorted my life out, focused on me. 2 years of that, which changed my whole confidence levels. It created a better version of me that I was happy with. Then I got downgraded my security to a category C, went to a place called HMP Oakwood, where I then looked at the support for veterans. Because when you go inside, for me, the immediate default was, I can do this because this is a very stag environment, as we mentioned earlier. There's a lot of blokes around there. I can do this because I've done it before in the army. This is the same. I can cope with this environment. So you default to the military mind, you default to the guy that served in the forces. So that 15 years of being involved in drugs, that kind of counted a little bit because I understood the people in the prison. But the 7.5 years prior to that of being in the army counted more because I could understand the environment.
Yeah.
And those two things collectively meant that I could thrive in prison.
So what prisons did you go to over your period?
Yes, I started off in 2011 and remanded in Gloucester prison, which was first time in jail. Quite nice, to be fair.
Yeah.
Fred West was in there still. Fred West used to be in there when he was knocking around. Local prison in Gloucester. It was okay. It was all right. I was only there for 5 weeks. I got a bail. Came out. Was on tag for 9 months with a curfew. So
hold on. You went to Nick. You got 15 years.
Yes.
And then you got a bail.
No. So leading up to that stage, when I was arrested the second time for conspiracy with Gloucester Soccer, they remanded me.
Yeah.
Even as Somerset bailed me, Gloucester remanded me because they needed a bit more meat on the bone.
Yeah.
That's why I was arrested twice. So they remanded me into Gloucester jail with my co-defendants.
Okay. Before you got the 15 years.
Before 15,
okay, fair enough.
So then when I got the 15, I was then remanded into Bristol,
Yeah.
which wasn't ideal, but it was a local jail for me. I knew people in there. In fact, I knew a lot of people in there, which made it quite comfortable for me. And then when I got the 15 years, I was Cat B, sent to Loudon Grange in Nottingham, which is a privately run jail by Serco. Different world. Private prisons are tender to the government and they'll run it as a business. So a lot of aspects are a lot better. And what I mean by that is you've got better cells, showers in your cells, single cells, you've got a phone in your cell.
You got a phone in your cell?
Yeah, you've got a phone.
A mobile or a...
No, just a standard handset.
Okay.
But rather than being on a wing phone in your standard public sector prisons where you've got to queue up, use a phone which everyone's been screaming and shouting at, you've got a phone in your pad. So you can ring up the missus in the evening, it's a lot easier. So it made that 2 years really good. A lot better than I thought it would be. So it means you're going to focus on yourself. And I got to HMP Oakwood in 2014 where I started focusing on veteran support, where my military mind had really installed then. It was back in, I rebooted as a squaddy again. I was beginning to understand the problems that we faced, or I reflected on my transition. I looked at where I struggled, where the difficulties I faced. And Oakwood allowed me to explore that even further because there was a director called John McLaughlin, and I work with him now in a new prison I'm working in. He allowed me to focus on the veteran support within the prison industry, but mainly Oakwood at the time. And I looked at the difficulties that we faced, and I created a program called Project TLS. So when you come into prison, you'll be given a sentence plan by your probation. It'll say, right, you're in for drugs. Let's do a program on dealing with substance misuse, for example. You're in for anger. You're in for violence. Let's do an anger management. These kind of things, which you do, of course. You tick a box. They lower your risk. They release you.
Yeah.
So I said to the team in charge of that, which is intervention, I said, look, are there any programs specifically designed for veterans that struggle with our transition or with our offender behaviour? And they came back after about a week and said, no, there's nothing there. I said, all right. So now I was aware how much money could be paid in programme delivery. Overheard someone mentioning that what they were due in from a prison. I thought, that's not bad. It's not quite cocaine money, but it's not fucking bad. So I saw a hole. I saw a gap. There's no programme of veterans. It's good money. I'm passionate about it. So I said to them, can I create a programme? They said, well, yeah, go on then. As if to say, yeah, whatever, mate.
Yeah.
So 3 months later, I wrote Project TLS, a 12-module programme addressing transition with 12 different modules. Produced this document to them. I said, there you go. Have a look. They got back about a day later and said, when do you want to start delivery? Yeah. So I'm ready to go now.
So did you find that in the prisons there were quite a few veterans in the prisons who have either struggled leaving the army, haven't decompressed if they come from war, they've been violent back here, or they've turned to drugs, or they've been serving up, or whatever. Have you found there was a number of veterans in Nick?
Yeah, approximately 5%.
Is it 5%?
Yeah, which
doesn't sound a lot, but it is a lot.
It's about 4,000 across the prison estate, and that's mirrored in the community as well. So you got about up to maybe 8,000 or 9,000 maybe 10,000 caught up in the CGS, which
CGS is what?
Criminal Justice System.
Okay.
But that's not accurate. That's only if they declare.
Yeah.
That's a declared veteran. So if they come in, if they don't declare they've served, you don't even know they served.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think they qualify as a veteran. They think, well, you've had to have been to war, or they might be too young to think the veteran is someone that's served. It's not some old duffer shaking a British Legion tin during Poppy Day. It's anyone that served in the forces is classed as a veteran.
And have you got to see all these stats when you're in there? They're like, okay, these are the stats. This is what we want you to work on. And what are you actually doing to help these veterans?
So I produce my own stats by researching the wings and picking them up myself. So I would literally go around the wings and pick them up from different departments. Say, right, have you served? Yes, okay. So I would then deliver the program to them, where we cover the modules based on risk, substance misuse, mental health, money management, various aspects of the transition where I struggled. And I'll deliver the course to them, highlighting their problems and their areas and their weaknesses, their triggers. And with that, I then produce a care plan to probation inside and out, and I'll then support them when they come out. So that was something I did in Oakwood for 3 years. So during my last 2 years in Oakwood, I was a Category D prisoner, which means you can get released on temporary licence, means you get to go out the gates.
How many, each day or?
Yeah, every day. Yeah, I worked outside the community every day. So part of what I did was making sure that the work I'd done inside the veterans, I had continuity. So I make sure that I don't just do it in prison. I need to make sure I'm doing it on day release so that it's ready for when I come out of prison. I needed to build that business so that I hit the ground running. So my roles included not just going home to my wife and my children, but included going into military camps, speaking to recruits, going into police stations, talking to police about setting up veterans champions networks for supporting veterans caught up on the streets, looking at homelessness, drug addiction, violence, all these different things. So I focus on these different areas which there are holes in the service. There is other charities doing the work, but there's the national footprint. It doesn't really cover the whole area. So there's significant gaps nationally where we're not focusing on people.
What I've learned over the last couple of years of speaking to SAS, SBS, veterans, is that the support system when people leave is really poor in this country.
Shite. If you're American, you get given a house, you get all sorts. In the UK, the way I look at it is, when you join the forces, is the part of you which should ask for help is trained out of you, because it's seen as weakness or failure. So when things start going slightly south, which do start going south, if you don't have the correct structure, the correct support networks when you come out, if you don't have these things in place, you can turn to drink, to drugs, mental health can kick in, and then you start to slide. But what normally happens in the forces, when you start to slide, you got someone next to you will pick you up, say, come on mate, we're going to be all right. You don't get that out there. You slide. So what happens then is you become isolated, you detach from your support network because you're embarrassed, because you're thinking I'm just a burden to them. And then you don't ask for help because you think there's someone more qualified. Common. Veterans now I'm fine.
I'm good.
That man there has lost his legs, or that lady there who's been blown up. Give the help to them, I'm all right, but the help's there for everyone. There's no triage system, it's there.
What was that feeling like when your young boys come saw you in prison?
Now that's a tough one, because I spoke to someone about this earlier today. I've had a meeting about, I work with National Prison Radio, and I think the damage that is done to your children is significantly worse than you would ever imagine. Because all that time, through those 15 years, when I got involved in the trials, I didn't have any children, it's just me. So my head was always just me. I'm gearing myself up to be caught. Well, at some point, I'm going to get caught. I don't know when, don't know how, but it's going to happen. But not for one moment did I think to consider how that would affect my children when their dad gets caught, when their dad is taken away at the ages of just turned 7 and 13. Young age, impressionable age. It's really bad. And the first visits in prison was, I think, helped me to realise the damage that had been done, because I was in Loudon Grange. They came in, they were really happy to see me. I was kind of like, didn't want to see them in that environment because it's not the best environment. And I remember that we had a good 2-hour visit, and it came to the end, and it's very abrupt. Like, right, everyone, visit's over, head back to the wings, that kind of thing. It's not violent, but it's just abrupt. And my youngest stood there, he said, Dad, I don't want you to go, I want to go with you. And that broke my heart. And I sat there thinking, oh, he's crying, I'm fucking crying. Visits one, I thought to myself, I can't do this. I can't do it. So what I did is I ended up boxing off my emotions. compartmentalised them. I just, for any feelings I've got for people that I love and care about, I cannot allow myself to feel that anymore, because I won't survive in this environment if I'm thinking about how they are. Which was great doing your sentence, because it means I didn't have to worry about them, because I literally shut them out completely. Not so good when you come in. Well, not so good when they come and do visit you, because there's no emotion. I'm like a rock. I'm sat there, and I see they're my kids. I love them dearly, but I didn't feel that. I didn't feel the love, and that's back now. It's really back now. But when I first came out of jail, I didn't have that attachment. It took a good while to sort of rebond.
And when you come out of Nick, when did you write the book Charlie 40?
Charlie 4 Kilo.
Charlie 4 Kilo.
I did that.
That one.
I wish it was Charlie 4
Zero.
With any money.
Charlie 4. Tell me about the book Charlie 4 Kilo.
So basically, I had a game plan. When I was getting arrested and going through the trial process, I thought to myself, if I get away with this, and I run off into the sunset, and I think, happy man. If I get caught, I'll consider a book. I never quite knew what format it was going to take. So when I was on my day releases, working in the visiting centre outside the prison, I had access to a laptop, and I was doing my programme work and everything else. I thought, start writing a fucking book here. So I sat there, I just thought, what should I call it? I don't know. It was going to be called The Lost Soldier, because I just lost myself completely in society when I came out, and that was the name, was to call it A Lost Soldier. So that's going to be the character as me. So I wrote the book over a period of about a year when I was on day release, and then when COVID kicked in, when I got out, and all my plans to go back into the prison.
What year did you come out?
July 2019. So the aim was to come out in 2019, give it 6 months cool off, and the aim was to arrange with the director to go back into the prison and deliver the programme paid. Remember this loopholes that about this gap in the market, to go back in, earn a good wage, support veterans, everyone's a winner, happy days. So that was planned for the 1st of April 2020. Of course, COVID decides to come and kick us all in the ass. So we go into lockdown phase, and I'm thinking, we're locked down. What should I do? I thought, fuck, I got a book here. I can finish writing that book off. So I cracked the book, and I got hold of a publisher. Luckily, there was a chap, a friend of the family, written a book called Call Sign Chopper, ex-police force, ex-bodyguard. He said, I've got a guy who's doing my book now. He said, I can introduce you. So I went to him and said, look, there's the first 5 chapters. Have a look, see what you think of it. He said, this has got legs. I said, yeah, we'll do this. We'll do it for you. He said, what's your word count? So I'm on about 75,000 now. He said, how far through are you? So I'm about halfway. So I got to do 3 books. So I wanted to start it in the middle is part 2, because I thought it's got to do in the middle. Then I'm going to go a little bit Star Wars. He said, I advise you to try and cap it about 80,000 words, because if you go any more than that, it gets a bit long-winded. I thought, fucking, I've got loads left yet. Said, well, can you nip it in the bud and finish it early and do another part and make it a 4-part series, not a 3-part series? I thought, yeah, I can do that. So I nipped it in the bud at the point where I just come out of the hospital, where I don't want to give it away. But yeah, I shut it off a bit abruptly, but it's a good finishing point. So the aim was to call it The Lost Soldier. He said, but you've Googled that name, haven't you? So there are a lot of different lost soldiers come up. This is before the username on TikTok or anything else. He said, you've got a movie called that, there's a video game called that. He said, you're going to get swamped. There's a new title, you're going to get swamped. He said, why didn't you call it the subtitle? Why didn't you call it Charlie 4 Kilo? He says, a good name.
Perfect name.
He said, it's got your phonetic alphabet, it's got military look to it, and it designates the amount of stuff that you got nicked with.
It's a great name.
Good name.
Where was the point when you were getting nicked before you got nicked? I just want to roll back a bit here. Were there any snitches grasses involved?
Oh yeah, plenty. I know exactly who they are as well.
You know who they are?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you get to know who they are? Is there a report? Have you read a report? Or
No. You can make educated guesses as to people that may or may not have been arrested around that time. Now I've 3-4 people in the frame, and the good thing about it is I don't mind. I don't care, because I'm not the one that's got to live with that. When I went away, I spent a good few years being really bitter, because I was owed a load of money, and secondly because I found out that we'd been informed, our whole organisation had been informed upon, and I was really bitter about it, understandably thinking I'm doing this time, but I'm thinking to myself, no, they've actually done me a favour, because I'm kind of getting on with it now. And in 2015, I had this sort of like an epiphany, I guess. I thought to myself, if I keep carrying this baggage of money that's owed, and if I keep hating on the people that have informed on me because because they've got no guts themselves to stand up and be convicted. So I'm going to carry that for a very long time. It weighs you down quite significantly. It's a lot of weight to carry. So I just literally binned it overnight. I said, right, that's it. I'll write the debts off, and I'm just going to, these people that have snitched on me, I'm just going to forgive them. I don't care. I don't want to see them again.
Have you seen these people since you've been out in the last couple of years?
No.
Do you know where they are?
No.
Have you looked them up?
No. I don't want to. I'm
you
not
just
interested.
cleared it out of your head?
Yeah, just they don't exist.
Yeah.
They just don't exist in my mind.
What sort of debt were you due when you were in Nick?
Enough for a good sized semi-detached house.
Okay.
Down here.
So it's enough.
Yeah, enough to start off, but it
quarter of a mil, 300 grand,
yeah,
roughly around there.
Quarter mil there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought myself, it's a lot of money, but at the same time, I never had it.
Yeah.
I never had the money.
Just passing money around, and it's a ticking time bomb waiting to get nicked.
Yeah.
Essentially, everyone I've had on the podcast, it's a ticking time bomb waiting to get nicked.
Yeah.
And anyone listening out there, if you're involved in the game, your advice would be,
don't do it. Walk away now.
Yeah.
Because
it's not the knock-on effect of you. You get in a nick, you can switch your emotions off. You go, I saw my 2 boys, I was really upset. Saw my missus, really upset. My old man ain't going to be happy because he's a copper.
Yeah.
But I'm switching my emotions off. You're all right in there.
Fine.
You got a nice bed, you got a telephone, you got the boys around you, you got 3 meals a day, you're playing a bit of sport.
Yeah.
The knock-on effect for your poor kids at school, knowing that their dad has been banged up,
and
or your wife, and the mental torture, and you not knowing whether your wife, I don't know whether you being banged up is whether your wife's sleeping with someone else, or whether your kids, you don't know what's going on.
And the mental health, the effect that has on their mental health is devastating. My youngest son's mental health took a real bad knock, as did mine. I mean, that's the way that his mental health went is what has driven me towards support mental health now. I mean, I'm now qualified as an EMDR practitioner. I support people who struggle with PTSD.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I go out there, and part of one of the many things I do is because of seeing how it changed my life with PTSD and what I've been through, how it changed my son's life. I got qualified about a month ago, and I'm doing the same thing now. But being involved in crime will never end well.
No, it doesn't.
Never ends well.
In the period of those 15 years of being in crime, do you think you were incredibly selfish?
Yeah, but you don't think you are. I think even if you're flamboyant and sharing and enjoy, not just enjoying that money yourself, you're still selfish, because emotionally, how could I ever be really, really a proper dad, for example, when I'm focused on not getting caught? How can I really provide them with a safe household when any minute the police could come through the door, which they did, or gangsters come through the door, which they could, they never did, but they could. That's selfish alone. That's not good for their development, is it?
Yeah.
So it's a selfish industry, and you become, although I wouldn't class myself as a selfish person, I made selfish decisions.
Yeah. Rich, this has been really fascinating.
Thank you.
A really fascinating story, going from army to a chancer to become a little raver to selling a few pills to selling cocaine to selling bigger lumps of cocaine and then getting nicked.
Yeah.
And I've seen this story time and time again, where it just starts from that little bit of Percy for yourself.
Yeah.
I get a freebie, I can go on a night out. A little bit later, I've served up there, I've got a couple of £100, then it's £1,000, then it's 10 grand, it's 50 grand, 100 grand. All of a sudden, they're just waiting for you.
Yeah. Then you're doing time thinking ain't worth anything.
15 years, mate.
Long time. Doesn't finish till 2027.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you're still paying off.
Yeah.
You say it doesn't finish till 27. What doesn't finish?
I'm on license until
You're on license,
2027.
which means what?
It means probation.
Which
So
means what?
Means every month pop in. Great relationship. Probation are really good. They support everything I'm doing.
You go abroad? Certain countries you can, certain you can't?
I'll probably not have much chance of South America or any
Yeah.
Americas anymore. I haven't tried yet. I've not asked.
Yeah.
I probably could,
Yeah.
but I've not asked yet. I'm too busy. I'm too busy working at the minute, and I've not even thought about abroad.
Yeah.
Maybe skiing next year.
Rich, where can people find you?
So websites are up. So I've got website I am Rich Jones.
I am Rich Jones.
IamRichJones.co.uk. I've got my project-tls.co.uk. That's the military one. I'm on social media, TikTok, which is the big one, if I'm not being banned.
Tell me why you're getting banned on TikTok.
People get upset because I'm quite honest about my background. So there are people who are professional to being offended on other people's behalf.
Yeah.
And then the ones get upset.
Give me an example of why you're going to be banned on TikTok, or why you have been banned on TikTok.
I think if someone trolls me, I'm not afraid to fire some fucks back into them.
Yeah, okay.
And they will just get upset because I can be quite open about how things are. And I've managed to to
Rein it
control
back.
that, rein it back slightly. But people pick up old posts.
Yeah.
You can't say that. You're promoting. I'm not promoting anything.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest.
Rich, you're a star, mate.
You too.
Thoroughly
Take care,
enjoyed
mate.
it. Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
honesty.
Cheers, mate.
Good man.